Hello, this is Brian with Alpha Training, and in this tutorial we're going to learn how to suppress those pesky little error messages in our Excel spreadsheets. We have a very simple spreadsheet here that has some quarterly sales figures for quarter 1 and quarter 2, and in each quarter we also have a defined quota that we're trying to see if we had met or not. And below that we have a total row. Now in this case, this is just a simple sum function. You can see up in the formula bar, this is just summing the 6 cells that are above its position. And when we fill that across, we'll get some answers for the quota and quarter 2 and quarter two's quota, but then we will just simply get zeros for the second half of the year because summing up no cells yields nothing. So nothing is represented as a 0. The problem is when we try to perform that average. If I try to take an average of these cells here, I'm going to get an answer. But when I extend that formula across my spreadsheet, that's where the pesky divide by 0 error message pops up. Now I know that's not really an error because the moment I go into quarter 3 and I put in some information, I know that I will get an average. But I don't want to have to tell my user, oh, just ignore those errors. They don't mean anything. They'll go away when you start putting in data. Because if I try to tell my user to ignore error messages, then that gets sort of into a cry wolf situation where when a real error message does pop up, they think that it's okay and they don't say anything, and then something horrible goes wrong and you say, well, why didn't you tell me? And they go, well, I thought it was okay, just like all those other error messages. So the better plan is to just simply not show them. Now, we can suppress them on screen with a function called if_error, but that's for another tutorial. What we're looking at here is how to suppress them from going to the paper. So I don't mind that they're on the screen, I just don't want them to show up on the printout. If I go up to File and access the Backstage and then click Print, you'll see here in my print preview that these div/0 error messages are going to print. The trick is to go to Page Setup, located here at the bottom of all the print commands in the Backstage. This will bring up a dialog box, and in this dialog box are a series of tabs. The tab entitled Sheet has a lot of things here that you can control in the behavior of the sheet, but the one we're looking for is right here called Cell Errors As. And as you can see, it says that I will display error messages as they are displayed on the screen. Well, we have some options here. We can say leave the cell blank, or put a double dash, or simply just put a $NA. So regardless of what the error message is, it will get replaced with a $NA. Well, I'm thinking that I would rather just see nothing. So I'm going to click blank and then hit OK. And now notice in my print preview, those error messages do not appear. Now, of course, they are still on the screen version. That would take an if_error function to suppress those. We're strictly looking at how do I suppress these from going to paper. So again, go into your page setup, go to the Sheet tab, and then Cell Errors As blank. Now, if you want to see what the other options would look like if we change that to double dash and hit OK, then those error messages turn to double dashes. If I go back to Page Setup, Sheet, and change that to NA, hit OK. Now, even though they originally started out as $0s, they've been converted into $NAs. I'm going to go back and put those back as blank. So there you go. That's how we suppress those pesky little error messages from showing up on our paper.